So, this is the book. Is the Bible really the Word of God? And I did say that some people ask about the flood, and there's a specific chapter in here for the flood. So I'm just going to briefly cover that. People say, well, how could it be an earth-wide flood? And where would the waters come from? Is there any evidence? Because we've got an ice age at the moment. We're living in an ice age. And of course, Jesus, mentions the flood. He claims that he was with his Father in heaven when it occurred, and he refers to the flood. So, of course, you may wonder from where such a vast amount of water could come from. The Genesis account states that during the second creative period or day, when the Earth's atmosphere, the expanse, was formed, there were waters above and beneath. We know the ones that beneath would be the sea, but what about the ones above? That's Genesis chapter 1, verses 6 and 7. And in Genesis 7, verses 11 and 12, it says these waters fell in the days of Noah. We also know there had been no rain. It said a mist came upon the ground. So there'd been no rain, so there were no rain clouds. So in the book, The Genesis Flood, Professor Henry Morris says this: the region above 80 miles is very hot, over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, rising to possibly 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It is in fact called the thermosphere for this reason. High temperature, of course, is the chief requisite for retaining a large quantity of water vapour. Further, it is known that water vapour is substantially lighter than air. Of course, no one person can know for sure what the compositional nature of the upper atmosphere was like in the past. However, Professor Morris says there is thus nothing physically impossible about the concept of a vast thermal water blanket once existing in the upper thermos atmosphere. The Bible says that when the suspended waters fell, they overwhelmed the earth so greatly that the tall mountains that were under the heavens were covered by 15 cubits. That's 22 feet. That's Genesis 7, 19 and 20. Do you find that difficult to believe? Well, we know that 29% we live on is land today and 71% is water. So is it possible that the climate could have changed and that water could have come down? It would have certainly changed the climate, wouldn't it? Like smashing the windows in a greenhouse should suddenly have cold air coming in. A change of climate. Since a globe encircling water canopy would have caused a hothouse state reaching even to the polar regions, the falling of this water in an earth-wide flood should have produced a dramatic change in Earth's climate. Is there any evidence that there has been such a drastic change? Yes, there is, and the change is so striking that without the Bible, geologists find themselves hard-pressed to explain it. French scholar Henri de Gousse says the Earth once enjoyed a uniform, warm and wet climate in every latitude. Continents were covered with lots of luxuriant vegetation. There was at the beginning but slight difference in the temperatures between summer and winter. Fig trees have been found in Greenland, and North Siberia palm trees have been found. So there is evidence of what we might expect would result from the falling of a water canopy, a drastic change of climate, causing suddenly the north and the south to glaciate up. An ice age would be created. Besides the changing climate, what would naturally expect the flood to produce an earth-wide evidence of a vast, sudden destruction? Is there such evidence? Yes. Excavations have uncovered the bones of carcasses of countless thousands of animals buried together. Often animals from what we would normally consider that would not herd together. The circumstances in which they are found indicate that they were all killed at the same time and swept together by gigantic force. F.C. Hilburn states, Professor, he says there is evidence of atmospheric disturbances of unparalleled violence. Mammoth and bison alike are torn and twisted The animals were simply torn apart, scattered over a landscape like things of straw and string, even though some of them weighed several tons each. French writer Franciscus Derry. The pits of Alaska are not unique. All over the world there have been found carnal houses of this nature piled high with the broken remains of thousands of animals. Even more amazing is the fact that carcasses of tens of thousands of animals unearthed in the extreme north are types that do not normally live in cold regions. Some were frozen solid and so well preserved that the flesh, when thawed after thousands of years, could be eaten. Green grass and flowers fully preserved have been found in the animals' stomachs and between their teeth. Even fruit trees were discovered in these locations, the leaves and the fruit perfectly preserved by sudden freezing. It is plain that these trees were growing and the animals were grazing in a warm climate when a sudden catastrophe struck. The evidence is just what one would expect from a vast insulating moisture blanket falling. The polar regions were suddenly plunged into a deep freeze. Animals in or near these regions were trapped and frozen solid. Creatures overtaking elsewhere were buried in great numbers under earth and debris. Neither natural death nor drowning by ordinary means, nor death by disease can satisfactorily explain all this evidence. But an earth-wide flood does explain it. And there is a chapter in the playlists about the flood. Very well done it is as well. So thank you very much. Take care. Another nice little book. Take care, everybody. Hopefully see you again.